Hello everyone, welcome to FTE. Feel the English, feel the fragrance of learning. Today we are going to analyze the poem The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats, shortly known as W.B. Yeats. About the poem, William Butler Yeats's The Lake Isle of Innisfree was published in his collection entitled The Rose, published in 1893. The poem is an example of the poet's earlier lyric poems. The poem was an attempt to create a form of poetry that was Irish in origin rather than one that followed the set standards of English poets and critics. Unlike other poems of that era, this poem does not contain any direct references to mysticism and the occult. Now, the poem The Lake Isle of Innisfree. This poem is an escape from the reality by the poet. This poem reveals the poet's escape of the urbanism or urban civilization and culture, and his aim is to reach the beautiful natural establishment or the situation, the natural settings of the Lake Isle of Innisfree, the island, the beautiful island, blessings full of blessings of nature, where he also spent his childhood days. It is noted that the poem was occasioned when the poet was standing on a pavement in London, and then he saw a jet of water where he was standing. He saw a jet of water in front of a shop, and this jet of water reminded him of the island where he spent his childhood days in a bout of homesickness. So, this is the poem. This is the poem of escape, and the poem is full of imagination, desire to have a comfortable and peaceful life amidst nature. The poet wishes to live forever amidst nature in the Lake Isle of Innisfree, where he finds peace and beauty of nature, the ultimate pleasure that he could never find anywhere in such urban settings where he was spending his rest of his life, that is in London. So at first we are reading out the poem. This poem is this poem contains the three stanzas. These three short stanzas beautifully expresses express the poet's inner feelings and his emotions greatly. Though the poem is very short, but it is depth, very depth and heavy in the view of its meaning and conception and its significant. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles mat. 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee cloud glad. And I shall have some peace there, for fish comes dropping slow, dropping from the veils of the morning to where the cricket sings. Their midnights all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water laughing with low sounds by the shore. While I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's grey, I hear it in the deep heart's score. The first two stanza the the first two lines of the last stanza or the third stanza describes, or we can say portraits, or reveals the poet's inner feelings, his emotions and his imagination, his desires. These are all imaginary, not real. These lines express the poet's desire, his wishes, his wish. But the last two lines of the poem uh, bring us back to the reality. What is the reality of the poet's situation? The last two lines of the poem reveals that ultimate fact. So now start with the first stanza of the poem. So please be attentive, and I wish you are enjoying the poem. It is very beautiful poem as a poem of it, as it is a, an, a poem of escape and related to the natural beauty, the praising of natural beauty of a particular natural setting such as Innisfree, Lake Isle of Innisfree. Okay, so we have the first stanza. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin built there of clay and wattles mat. The first line starts as I will arise and go now. This represents that the poet, the poet W.B. Yeats, the poet is not is not awake. He is sleeping. That is why he has to rise. He has to arise. He is sleeping. That means he is not in the real situation where he wishes to be. Though he is, or he was awaking, he was not sleeping, but his condition was like that. He was uh, no pleasure, no actual pleasure. He had nothing to be enjoyed. There was crowd of the people, there was the pollution, and there was the standard of urban civilization that could not bring the real peace in the mind and heart of the poet. That is why says, I will arise. That is, he was not awake. That is, he had to arise from the situation and he had to leave the place where he was living, and he had to go where he wishes to be. So I will arise and go now and go to Innisfree. Go now. This word now represents the poet's strong wishes, the poet's strong, the poet, the strength of the poet's desire. Now that the poet does not want to waste not a minute, he wishes to go to his to the place of his choice amidst the nature immediately. That is why he says, I will arise and go now and go to Innisfree. And a small cabin built there. He wishes to build a small cabin there. That is, the poet wants to live there. The poet is not going to observe the natural beauty for a little moment or for a limited period of time, but he wishes to build a cabin there, to live there forever, 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 till his death. And a small cabin built there of clay and wattles mat, of clay and wattles mat. The cabin would also be natural. It would not be the cabin made of bricks or any other materials. This implies the poet's desire to live in a quiet, natural setting. He even does not want his cabin as an unnatural material. So he would made a cabin, but that cabin would be made of clay and wattles, not of other materials, not of unnatural materials, but of natural materials, without hurting the nature, balancing the environment. 9 bean rows will I have there, and a hive for the honey bee. These lines represents the poet's style of living. Not only his cabin would be natural, but his food for the survival would also be natural. That is why he wishes to have 9 bean rows there and a special hive for the honey bee that would provide the ultimate taste of sweetness in the mouth of the poet and also make a natural peace and pleasure without hurting the environmental situation. But being a balanced part of the nature, part of the mother nature, and live alone in the bee loud glade. The last line of the first stanza of the poem emphasizes that the poet wishes to live amidst nature in the Innisfree alone, without being without being a companion. That is why the poet does not want any interference, enjoying the beauty of nature. That is why he wishes to be there alone and alone. That means the poet receives the natural setting. Whatever in the nature he receives as his companions, he would enjoy the nature, and the nature would nurture the poet. The nature would provide everything else what the poet needs, and this way the poet would live a peaceful life and a simple life amidst nature, without any other companion that would make the poet boring in some situations. So the poet likes to live there amidst nature in the Innisfree alone. So this is the first stanza of the poem. Now we Now we are going to the second stanza of the poem, The Lake Isle of Innisfree by William Butler Yeats. And I have, and I shall have some peace there, for fish comes dropping slow, dropping from the bales of the morning to where the cricket sings. Now this stanza further describes the natural beauty and the natural situation of the Innisfree, where the poet wishes to be, live forever, or spend his rest of his life, spend his rest of his life. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the bales of the morning to where the cricket sings. The poet's ultimate aim is to achieve peace, the peace of the soul, and this peace only can come from the fragrance of the nature, like from like from the natural settings, like the Lake Isle of Innisfree, that the poet uh, knows well what is the beauty of the Innisfree, as he spent his childhood days there. So the poet would have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, and this peace would come to the poet dropping slow. That is, the peace would increase. The peace will increase. It will never decrease. It will come slow, dropping slow, and dropping from the bales of the morning to where the cricket sings. The poet could find the peace in the early morning where the cricket sings. That is, in the songs of the crickets, the poet would find the ultimate peace of nature. provided by Mother Nature amidst the Innisfree. Their midnights all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. Not only in the morning the poet would find the inner peace felt in his soul and mind, but all the time phrases would provide peace in the Innisfree. There, the midnights would be a glimmer, and noon a purple glow. That is, every moment would be colorful and pleasure due to the various actions provided by the nature. The actions of the birds, the actions of the crickets, okay, the actions of the linnets, and the other components of nature. The falling down of the clear water, etc. And evening full of the linnet's wings. And the evening would be peaceful and pleasure due to the wings of the linnets. So all the way the situation would be peaceful and pleasure and comfortable and simple according to the poet. Far away from human habitation, far away from the civilization and culture of the urban setting that can provide us nothing but the exhaustion. So the poet wishes to escape this exhaustion and receive the ultimate peace in the heart of the nature. So this is the second stanza of the poem. Now the last stanza of the poem, or the third stanza of the poem. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water laughing with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway. While I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's grey, I hear it in the deep heart score. The first line of the last stanza of the poem, that is the final stanza or the third stanza of the poem, opens with the line, I will arise and go now, for always night and day. I will arise and go now. This sentence is the repetition of the first line of the poem, half of the first line of the poem, of the first stanza of the poem. I will arise and go now. This uh, this part of the line again uh, reveals the poet's desire, deep wishes. For always night and day, this part of the first line, the second part of the first line, for always night and day, strongly reflects the poet's desire that he wants to spend rest of his life there in the Innisfree amidst nature. He wants to enjoy the every moment of his life there, and alone without any companion. He receives the natural setting as his companion, ultimate companion. So I will arise and go now for always night and day, not for a not for a moment, not for a day, not for a week, not for a month, not for a year, not for a decade, but for always night and day. This is the strength of the poet's feeling and emotion. He wants to live he wants to live the life of urban culture, the life of industrialism, and want to live a life of nature in his most beautiful natural place, that is the lake isle of Innisfree, for always night and day, not for a limited time period. Till death he wants to live there. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore. Actually, from this line, the voice of the poet has sensed from these lines, actually from the second line of this stanza. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's grey. I hear it in the deep heart's core. The poet is imagining all these things, and at last he says he imagined, or he hears the lake water laughing with low sounds by the shore, while he stand on the roadway or the pavement's grey. This happens to him continuously. Whenever he stands on the roadside or on the pavements, he saw he sees a jet of water, then he reminds, and that reminds him the lake isle of Innisfree. And the poet dreams the lake isle of Innisfree as his dream living place. I hear it in the deep heart score when he stands on the pavements or on the roadway. The poet is able to hear the sounds of the lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore in his deep heart's core. This stanza reveals the reality of the poet's condition. The poet is unable to escape from the town. He is unable to escape from his place and to live there in the amidst nature in the Innisfree, but he strongly wishes to be there and live his life full of enjoyment, full of pleasure, comfort, and peace amidst nature. The last stanza reveals the poet's ultimate and the final situation, which is the reality. He is living without any inner peace of heart and mind, living the life of urbanism, living the life of uh, uh, busyness without any comfort of nature. That is why he wishes to be there. He wants to escape from these urban values that the human beings have made. Okay, now the points to be remembered. This poem is a poem of escape where the poet tries to escape the artificial beauty of urban setting and rich the beautiful and peaceful place of nature. That is the Lake Isle of Innisfree, where the poet finds the inner peace and proper employment of life. Enjoyment of life. The life is so hard and struggling amidst the nature. It is quite peaceful and soothing, far away from human habitat. The Lake Isle of Innisfree is the choice of the poet to spend the life amidst nature. As he spent his childhood days there, he knows the blessings of nature provided by the Lake Isle. The poet wishes to build a natural cabin there in the Innisfree and spend the rest of his life enjoying the beauty of nature. The start of the mornings with the start of the mornings with the songs of the crickets, enjoying the evenings full of the linnet swings. The poet wishes that he would have 9 bean rows and a hive for the honey bee. The whole poem reveals the poet's inner love for nature and especially for the Lake Isle of Innisfree that would provide him the ultimate peace and happiness which he had lost in the settings of urban culture and civilization, which is far away from the charming of Mother Nature. Thank you for watching. Keep supporting us. Please subscribe to our channel. Share with your friends because sharing is caring. Don't hesitate to subscribe it and also press the bell icon if you have any query about the poem or anything else regarding English literature or anything else. Please don't hesitate to comment in the comment section below. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time. Have a nice day. Thank you once again. Bye bye.